Good morning and a very warm welcome to you joining today, Wednesday the 11th of November, for our second UK Somaliland Trade and Investment Summit, the first having taken place in 2014. This a very different event in a very different global setting during the pandemic. We're very grateful nonetheless in this digital age to have such a stellar lineup this morning. Before we start and before we enter into the day's proceedings, just a few thank yous that I'd like to get out, and then a little bit of housekeeping. The thank yous are first to Guul Group, with whom we have coordinated this event to such effect, to good end, its chief executive, from whom we'll be hearing later. The second, of course, is to our keynote speakers, including Lord Sheikh, who has given an excellent setting of the investment landscape in Somaliland and why we should invest in Somaliland. To all the ministers, including the Minister of Investment and the Minister of Finance, and all of the distinguished Somalilanders who have contributed to this event, to the Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office, who have been instrumental in driving the agenda forward as well, as they were in 2014, and we have such a strong delegation from the FCDO that we'll be hearing from today, and to the World Bank, and to USAID, and to all of the other distinguished contributors, including the chairs, Sir Henry Bellingham and Lauren Clabbert. And we're very grateful to all of those who've contributed today, including and not especially our event supporters, which are DP World, Rio Architects, and the outstanding Ambassador Hotel in Hargeisa, which I remember fondly from our 2014 visit. We're going to crack on with the substance of the event very shortly, and we're delighted to have as our principal speaker this morning, as the opener of the event, from the office, the head of the British office in Hargeisa, Stuart. And Stuart is going to take us and welcome you all to the event. Many thanks.
Thank you. And as head of the British office in Hargeisa, I would like to thank you all for joining us here today for this virtual UK and Somaliland trade and investment event. Now, the theme of today's event is stability and sustainable development, two themes that are very much at the heart of the UK-Somaliland partnership. Over the next few minutes, I want to talk to you about three issues. The first is about why Somaliland is an increasingly viable destination for UK investment and Somaliland stability therein. The second is about some of the opportunities, the strategic opportunities that are presenting themselves now in 2020. And the third is about why I believe that the UK industry is uniquely well placed to capitalise on some of these opportunities. So first, stability and the increasing viability of the Somaliland market. The last time we held one of these events was in 2014 with the UK Somaliland Trade and Investment Forum. That was held in the UK, and at that time, stability in Somaliland was one of the things that was discussed as a reason why UK businesses should be attracted. That stability very much exists in 2020 as it did in 2014. Now, other things that that still exist in Somaliland are the entrepreneurial nature of the private sector and the enormous potential of Somaliland's young labour market. Back in 2014, we also talked about connectivity. At that time, fibre optic broadband was just arriving in Somaliland with the laying of fibre optic cables. Now, 6 years later, fibre optic connectivity, high-speed internet connections is very much part and parcel of life in Hargeisa. That, coupled with the physical connections that are now growing through the Igal International Airport, Somaliland is becoming an increasingly viable place for business to be able to operate functionally. Now, the second issue I want to touch on is the strategic opportunity. Somaliland ministers are going to be speaking to you later in this event about some of the specific opportunities that apply in their sectors, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing more about that. The thing I want to touch on, though, is the strategic opportunity that is presenting itself in 2020, and here I'm looking at Berbera. First with the development of the port, and secondly with the development of the Berbera corridor. For me, this marks really two important things. First is how the investment in Berbera Port has proven Somaliland's ability to absorb significant international private sector investments. The second is how, with the Berbera corridor, Somaliland is positioning itself as a gateway to Ethiopia, itself the fastest growing economy in Africa, and at the same time locating itself very strategically as an important player in the economic integration of the Horn of Africa. Now, don't get me wrong, development challenges very much still exist here in Somaliland. For example, access to water, access to energy still remains a challenge for many. My colleagues Damon Bristow and Angus Miller will be talking to you shortly about some of the things that the UK is doing as Somaliland's largest bilateral aid partner to both improve economic development, reduce poverty, and indeed to facilitate access and opportunities for UK business for removing market access barriers. Now, perhaps I'll just seize on one sector and talk about energy. Now, as a result of reliance on highly inefficient diesel power and the use of very localised energy grids, Somaliland has among some of the highest energy costs in the world in some areas, at about $1 per kilowatt hour. Now, through UK aid and using UK experience, in this case delivered by Malt McDonald, we've been piloting solar-powered hybrid mini-grids. Now, through the use of these grids, in some areas we've seen the reduction of energy costs in Somaliland being reduced by as much as 42%, and at the same time seeing a commensurate decrease in carbon emissions at the same time. Now, for me, this really tells us two things, or has done two things. First, it's been a proof of concept and a proof of profitability for those in the private sector who may want to come in and join the energy sector themselves. The second is by creating a potential for decreased energy costs in Somaliland, we're also going to be opening up potential for new markets and new opportunities, whether it be in the processing of raw materials or in the manufacturing sector. Now, that now brings me on to my third and final point, which is about why the UK. Now, people often talk about the long history that exists between the UK and Somaliland, and that is of course true. Today being the 11th of November, I am remembering in particular the members of the Somaliland Scouts who fought in East Asia during the Second World War. However, that history is only a foundation on which we've built what we have today, and there I'm really looking at the living bridge that exists through the UK Somaliland diaspora, who keep our relations relevant, vibrant and dynamic in a way that governments themselves would not be able to do so. And it's very much this living bridge of the diaspora that really positions the UK in a unique opportunity, in a unique position to seize on some of the opportunities that Somaliland presents today. Now, that just really leaves me to say thank you to our hosts today. Thank you to DMA and to Guul Group for bringing us together and for making this event possible. And I hope that I speak for all sides when I say that we very much look forward to building on the strong relations that already exist between the UK and Somaliland governments and people to foster greater business-to-business links to the mutual benefit of both our economies. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you so much, Stuart, for that concise, current, informative and encouraging overview of the investment landscape in Somaliland, particularly for British investors. That was a great way to kick off today. Thank you very much. And now we go on to the head of the Somaliland mission in the UK. This will be your first port of call, of course, from anything practical, such as requiring visas, to I guess a more informal hand-holding exercise when it comes to looking at travelling to Somaliland and investing in Somaliland. Please, over to the head of mission. Many thanks.
Dignitaries, business leaders, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Abdi Hersi, and I am the head of the Somaliland mission to the UK. I want to address the UK and Somaliland virtual trade and investment conference. I want to begin by congratulating you on your choice as the theme of this conference as Somaliland's stability and sustainable development. My message as the head of the Somaliland mission to the UK and the Commonwealth based in London, is that Somaliland has great potentiality for foreign investment. The Republic of Somaliland and the United Kingdom have a strong and unique relationship. Both of our governments are committed to the future of enduring relationship, and we will continue to share common interests in terms of security, trade, to generate economic growth, reinforcing incentives for peace and stability. Somaliland has extended its economic engagement with foreign governments within the region and beyond. It's engaged in negotiation with Ethiopia, Djibouti, and has used diplomacy to help explore recent efforts to attract FDI from Malaysia, the UAE, Kenya, Egypt, into Somaliland's key sectors such as livestock and fisheries. In addition, a great deal of Somaliland diaspora investment is coming from the UK, Norway, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, Germany, Australia, Canada, South Africa, and the United States. Telecommunication services will be enhanced by the new fiber optic cables which are being laid to connect Somaliland's major cities and towns to establish a link of the outside world. This new infrastructure will greatly change the way in which business is done in Somaliland and provide new opportunities, including support to the financial service sector. Somaliland mission to the UK and the Commonwealth services to UK investors and trade opportunities. We support business wishing to trade or invest to the Republic of Somaliland at local, regional, and national levels, adding values by helping them to success and to increase profitability. We offer information on logistic and administration support with connection to Somaliland's ministries and government departments. Companies can have access to essential information contained within a range of extensive database regarding the various markets in the Republic of Somaliland, and can also take advantage of the technical and logistical support the mission has to offer, which they can use to make contact with other business in Somaliland and the UK. In conclusion, we Somalilanders are confident people. We are defined by our optimism and hard work, and I am confident that the Republic of Somaliland and UK relationship will continue to deepen and strengthen, and the Somaliland mission to the UK is ready to liaison all business contacts in the UK with the Republic of Somaliland. My webpage, the webpage of the mission is www.somalilandmission.com. So you can get the address of the mission, the telephones, the emails, and what we can offer. You can get it here, and the form of the visas is provided within that webpage. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was excellent. Thank you. And the details of the Somaliland mission can be found on DMA's website after this event. Now to the keynote addresses. Lord Sheikh has been a friend of DMA for many years. He's often been the keynote speaker at our events, a passionate advocate of Islamic finance, as well as a passionate pro-poor advocate of investment into Africa. Lord Sheikh, as always, we're delighted to hear from you, and we look forward to hearing from you. Over to you, Lord Sheikh.
Honourable Ministers, Heads of Missions, Sir Henry Bellingham, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to this virtual conference on stability and sustainable development in Somaliland. I would like to thank Atam Sandhu, Chief Executive of DMA and Guul Group, for inviting me to speak here today and for organizing such an important event. It's a shame we cannot meet in person, but I hope that we will be able to do so soon. I was born and brought up in East Africa, and I visited the region and other parts of Africa on many occasions. Eastern Africa has always been strategically important for global trade and development, and there are many more opportunities that have yet to be explored. For example, in sustainable agriculture, renewable energy, tourism, and manufacturing, to name a few. Today, we are here to talk about Somaliland, which is one of Africa's best-kept secrets. Somaliland is a truly marvelous country, and I have noticed the strong work ethics of the Somalilands on my various trips to Kenya. Somalis are very friendly and enterprising people who are committed to showing the world that Somaliland is open for business. I'm very glad to be part of this virtual conference today, and I hope we can show you the many opportunities that Somaliland has to offer. As a businessman, I know that stability is very important to investors. Somaliland is a flourishing country which has had 5 consecutive peaceful elections and a government which is eager to undertake more trade. The government of Somaliland are listening to the needs of the private sector and developing an attractive business environment. The government is also committed to strengthening bilateral relations between the United Kingdom and Somaliland. The British have always been a trading nation, and it is in our nature to trade with other countries. The world has suffered greatly from COVID-19 pandemic, but it's important that more bilateral trade is undertaken as we recover. These trades need to be win-win for both countries and focus on sustainable development. I know that the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office has a significant number of projects in Somaliland focusing on infrastructure and sustainability, which we will hear more of later. The location of Somaliland has tremendous potential, and I'm excited by the new development of Berbera Port, which will open up Somaliland to the rest of the world. The Berbera Corridor will help drive further developments into Somaliland and develop further its trading capacity as a gateway into the region. As the founder and co-chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Islamic Finance, I'm keen to develop Islamic finance in Somaliland. There's a great potential for Islamic finance, and I'm looking forward to it being pushed forward. Furthermore, there are also huge opportunities in agriculture, fisheries, production, infrastructure, financial services, and renewable energy. I encourage you to explore this peaceful and vibrant country and to think about the many ways of promoting sustainability and inclusive growth in Somaliland. I wish this conference the best of luck, and I look forward to hearing about the flourishing business ties between the UK and Somaliland. Thank you.
Well, Lord Sheikh, thank you so much for that outstanding overview of the Somaliland investment landscape. Now to hear from our main driver in Somaliland from the event, the Minister of Investment Promotion, Minister Awad. Mr. Awad's going to be speaking in Somali. We've taken the liberty of adding some simultaneous translations below, so we hope that those will work for you. Over to you, Minister, and many thanks again for having driven this entire agenda. Thank you, Minister.
waxaan maanta halkan ka dahfurnaa shirka Somaliland UK Investment and Trade Stability and Sustainable Development oo muxuu ahaa isoo qabanqaabisay wasaaradda kala shaqaysay Guul Group oo aad iyo aad ugu mahadnaqayno. Waxaa kaloo mahadnaqayaa Sheikh Mohammed oo isaguna iga horreeyay oo ka tirsan aqalka sare ee Ingiriiska. Waxaa kaloo mahadnaqayaa madaxda kale iyo wasiirada Somaliland ee igala qayb galay shirkan sida Dr. Saad Ali Shire, wasiirka maaliyadda, Maxamed Saad, wasiirka ganacsiga warshadaha iyo dalxiiska, Hinda, Jama, wasiirka shaqagelinta iyo arrimaha bulshada, Jama Xaaji Maxamuud oo wasiirka macdanta iyo tamarta. Dhammaantood aad baan ugu mahadnaqi doonaa. Dhammaantood waxay ka wada hadli doonaan fursadaha ama xusuuskeena lama shaqri ka wada doono lama dhow presentation kule waxaan ka hadli doonaa xagga shuruucda iyo legal frameworka iyo dowladda Somaliland iyo xukuumaddu mudnaanta aaga muxuu sector-yadee ama dhinacyadee bay siinaysaa mudnaanta in la maalgashado. Shirkan wuxuu horseedi doonaa iskaashi weyn oo ka dhex dhaca dowladda UK marka hore siyaasiyan aynu lahayn xiriir weyn soo jirayna maantana in dowlad dhaqaale aynu wada yeelano. Waxaan bishaareynaya Somaliland waa dad wadan hodana resourcekeeda aan weli la farafaray. Waxaan rajayn doonaa inaynu shirkadaha Somaliland iyo kuwa reer UK labada ganacsata iyagoo gacan haysta in la saadaalin doono la saxamin doono resourcekeena iyo kheyraadkeena loogana wada faa'iideyn doono ummadda.
Thank you, Minister. Now, it is my great pleasure and my honour to invite DMA Invest Chairman, Sir Henry Bellingham, soon to be Lord Bellingham. Sir Henry, of course, was Minister for Africa during the coalition government from 2010 onwards, and Sir Henry's been a long time and passionate advocate of investing in Africa. Over to you, Sir Henry.
Thank you, Atom. It seems that we're having some connectivity issues between ourselves and Sir Henry Bellingham in North Norfolk. I know the fibre optic connection in Somaliland has been mentioned a bit today, and it turns out it really is impressive compared to some of the connections in rural parts of the UK. My name's Katie, and if it's okay, I'll just chair this first part of the session until we get Henry back online. Our first speaker in this session is a senior cabinet minister and currently the Minister of Finance of Somaliland. It's my pleasure to introduce the Honourable Dr. Saad Ali Shire.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm very pleased, to be here, and that you have invited me to take part in this conference. The Somaliland economy is estimated at $2.79 billion in 2017. That probably have changed since then, because we estimate the annual growth of the GDP to be around 2%. The total population is about 4 million, which gives you about $600 to $700 per capita GDP. The principal sector of the economy is the livestock, which accounts for about 28%, and that's followed by service, which accounts for about 22%. Real estate and construction account for 7%. Agriculture again for 7%. Industry is very small, it's 1.2 perhaps, I think, or about 1.7. Energy and mining as well are very small contributors. The economy, of course, has two components at the upper level: public component and the private component. The private account for about 90% of the GDP. The public is only for about 10% of the GDP. Within the private sector, small firms dominate the sector. There are also a few big firms that employ more than 100 people. We have also a large informal economy in the Somaliland economy. Now, the main strength of the Somaliland economy does not lie so much in its current production, but in its natural resources. It has untapped natural resources, marine resources, mineral resources, agricultural resources. There's all these resources which are untapped at the present time. But also, its strength lies in its position. The Somaliland is the gateway, or can be the gateway, to many landlocked African countries in East Africa, like Ethiopia, Sudan, Rwanda, Burundi, and all these countries. And that's why many companies are interested in investing in Somaliland. The main investor at the present time is DB World, which is investing about $442 million in the development of the port. We're also constructing a road from Berbera to the border with Ethiopia, which will constitute the Berbera corridor. It should be a substitute in a way for the Djibouti-Ethiopia corridor. We have already also other investors in the country, foreign investors in the country, like we have several mining companies. We have also oil companies as well. There are companies which are represented here by agents, and so we have an increasing interest in the investment in the country. We offer a lot of incentives for foreign investors, including tax holidays for the first 3 years, but also they enjoy tax exemption for all the equipment and the material which they import, which is necessary for the building of the factories and other investment projects in the country. One of the main strengths, another strength of the Somaliland economy is that we have a young population which is highly educated and which has a cost advantage. So any company who wants to locate here will have a pool available to itself, a pool of young people who speak Arabic and who speak English as well, apart from Somali, and who doesn't cost that much, which will give them a cost advantage in competing in the international market. The country is served by Berbera Port on the marine side. It can accommodate up to 3 main ships at the present time. It has a 600 meter quay. Another 400 meter quay will be ready in the coming 3 or 4 months. And if the demand justifies, then there will be another 400 meter quay coming up in 2022. So infrastructure-wise, as far as ports are concerned, I think Somaliland is in a good position. But we are also connected, to the rest of the world by several airlines who come here: Air Djibouti, Ethiopian Airlines, Gallo Airline, and we expect also others to join. So it's a very well connected. And we have also a very competitive and fast internet available for businesses and individuals as well here. So, and that's another strength really. The currency is quite stable. It hasn't changed that much for the past 24 months. And inflation is also quite stable, despite all the havoc which coronavirus has played on the economy all over the world, including Somaliland. So you have a stable currency and a stable inflation, also which are two attractive elements in investment in Somaliland, because businesses want to be sure what the currency is going to be like, in the short term and in the long term as well. So we think we have a good fiscal and monetary policy in the country to make sure that there aren't many fluctuations within the currency market. The vision of Somaliland is to be part of the Horn of Africa, economy. We would like to see, the East African economies, create a sort of an economic union, just like the EU, and we would like to be part of that. We would like to be an independent country within the Horn of Africa, but which is connected to the rest of the countries in the Horn of Africa through trade.
Thank you, Minister. That was quite simply excellent. And I know we're going to hear from you a bit later with the Q&A session, so thank you very much for staying with us. Now, after Stuart's outstanding opening this morning, I'm very much looking forward to hearing what the FCDO is doing in terms of development in Somaliland. It's my pleasure to introduce Damon Bristow, the Development Director for the Horn of Africa.
Hi, my name is Damon Bristow. I'm the UK's Development Director for Somalia and Somaliland. And at the outset, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for inviting us to speak at this UK Somaliland Investment Forum, Somaliland and the UK, Stability and Sustainable Development. I would especially like to thank the organisers, the British firm DMA, in partnership with the Guul Group, for bringing us all together today. As I'm sure you will recall, our government had planned a similar event earlier this year in London, but because of COVID-19, we had to pull back. And I'd just like to take my hat off, as I'm sure all of you will, to DMA and the Guul Group for this innovative live interactive Q&A and IT platform event. I wish this event well. So let me take a few moments to say a couple of words about UK investment in Somaliland to date and take a brief look into the future. I'm sure that it hasn't escaped your notice that there have been some changes in the way the UK government operates overseas in the past few months. We, that is the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and DFID have come together. We have merged into a new department, the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, which will work closely with the Department for International Trade to support business growth and investment in emerging markets such as the Horn of Africa. Our priorities in this prosperity space, which are incredibly relevant for this audience, I feel, are regional economic integration in the Horn, financial flows, private sector development in key sectors, and supporting the Berbera Corridor and DFI engagement. The Horn is one of Africa's fastest growing regions. Ethiopia's growth rates alone and the reduction of poverty there are arguably the largest driver of growth across the region. The British government is engaged for the long haul. We want UK investors to come to the region and also to consider how to make their investments as inclusive and sustainable as possible, promoting better climate and sustainable growth as one of the hosts of COP26 next year. Now, we often refer to the Horn of Africa, and that is for good reason, because we see gradual regional economic integration in the Horn happening, and that provides the conditions that are necessary not only for greater prosperity and greater regional investment for UK companies, but also for greater stability across the region, which in turn will lead to more prosperity and greater opportunities for all. A little bit about what it is that the UK is doing. In addition to providing direct support for projects such as the Berbera Corridor, we also invest hugely in improving the enabling environment. Let me tell you what I mean by that. So, for example, through our support, we've helped to ensure that a national investment law and a Somaliland zones regime have been drafted, both of which have enabled work on the Berbera Economic Zone to start next year. We've also provided funds for financial institutions, which have allowed lending to medium-sized enterprises and those in underserved sectors. Through the establishment of an online business registry, we've helped to reduce the cost and time of doing business. And we've collaborated with the Central Bank of Somaliland to provide training on risk and credit management. We're also supporting SomInvest, an investment promotion agency that includes Somaliland. And in energy, we are helping to install 3 megawatts of solar power in Berbera. And finally, and of course, we are supporting the hard and soft infrastructure which is needed to upgrade the Berbera corridor. My colleagues will say a little bit more about this during the rest of the conference. So, I'm hoping that that gives you an idea of the range of things that the UK is doing and the commitment that we bring. And I'd like to thank once again the DMA and the Guul Group for their innovative work, and good luck with this.
Thank you, Damon. That was really inspiring and fantastic to hear about all the work of the FCDO, not just in Somaliland, but in the wider Horn of Africa region. And it's great to hear from such an honest ambassador of the country too. We're now going to go over to Phillip, who runs the Growth, Enterprise, Employment and Livelihoods Programme, which promotes inclusive economic growth throughout Somaliland for USAID. Phillip.
Thank you. I've been facilitating investments in Somaliland for 3 years now. When I first arrived, I assumed that this would be a simple matter of making sure that businesses were ready for investment, preparing businesses and financial plans, and introducing businesses to potential investors. If only investing in Somaliland was that simple. I soon found out that the businesses were not often investment ready. They usually had a good idea, often copied from an existing business, but the businesses lacked the skills, knowledge, experience and business contacts to make it work. And that's where Guul has been able to make a real difference, providing technical assistance to the business to review its business model and business plan, to ensure that they're workable and provide expertise to implement the project. We've introduced many key technologies and helped businesses to select and tailor them for their needs. We've trained and mentored the businesses in the technical skills and processes required, particularly in agriculture, livestock and fisheries value chains and in renewable energy, the productive sectors where investment is most needed. And we've helped the businesses to develop food processing and distribution so they can access new markets for domestic consumption and exports. Guul is playing a crucial role to ensure that the business knows what it is doing and has access to the correct skills, knowledge, technology and other resources that it needs to be successful. The other problem that we faced is that there were no investors. Local banks were happy to finance the import of consumables, but they were reluctant to lend to productive businesses that did not understand and perceived as too risky. Their lack of long-term deposits and Islamic profit-sharing approach prevented them from investing long-term at affordable rates. We worked with the World Bank and Gagara Investment Fund to provide more long-term capital to banks so they can increase their investments. And we've worked with Somaliland's banks to encourage and support them to use their additional capital to lend to productive businesses, including designing suitable loan products and introducing pipelines of investment-ready businesses. So now the local banks are ready to invest. But they still lack sufficient capital for larger investments and are still feeling their way into new market segments. International investors have an opportunity to provide the larger investments that are beyond the capacity of the local finance. Rather than doing this alone, we have found that co-investment by an international investor and a local partner works best. The international investor provides the bulk of the long-term capital as loan or equity, and the local bank provides a smaller, shorter-term loan. The co-investment provides the international investor with a local partner with skin in the game that can help to assess and monitor the transaction. And Guul has also worked with the United States Development Finance Corporation and the World Bank's Multilateral International Guarantee Agency to reduce risk for international investors into Somaliland businesses. And we've focused on two main instruments. We've used credit guarantees to protect against some of the risk of default from whatever cause, such as business failure or poor performance. And because Somaliland is not even a frontier market, but way beyond the frontier as seen by international investors, we've found political risk insurance is a valuable tool to encourage investors to invest into Somaliland, which is not even recognised as a country, despite many years of stable democratic government and an open investment market. So it's team investing that works best in Somaliland, with international investors co-investing with local banks and partners, and with the support of international organisations like Guul, the USDFC, the World Bank and MEGA. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip, for an excellent insight into how Guul's been supporting both businesses and the financial services sector. I understand we're running a little short on time, so I'm now going to hand over to who I hear is the outstanding Minister Gaani. Over to you, Minister.
waxaan u mahadcelinayaa saaxiibadayda iga horeeyay iyo qaabka ay uga warbixiyeen aad baad u mahadsantihiin waxaan jecelahay inaan soo gudbiyo aniguna aragtidayda iyo aqoonta inta aan u leeyahay jamhuuriyadda Somaliland aan kala hadlayo dhammaan maalgashadayaasha dunida daafaheeda ku kala firirsan anigoo runtii u cadaynaya waxyaabaha ay ku aamini karaan wadan ee ay ku maalgashan karaan Somaliland ay ka koob tahay runtii waan soo dhaweynayaa maalgashiga waxaan qabaa Somaliland inay ka mid tahay wadamada ugu habboon ee la maalgashan karo dhowr asbaabood darteed marka koobaad Somaliland waa wadan ammaan ah oo ay nabadgelyadu gobol ilaa degmo dhamaystirtay alxamdulilaahi rabbil caalamiin mar labaadka waa wadan shuruuc iyo kala dambeyn leh waxaa dhamaystiran dhammaan shuruucda shaqaalaha iyo kuwa maalgashiga kuwaasoo ilaalinaya xuquuqda shaqaalaha iyo loo shaqeeyaha iyo xuquuqda maalgashadayaasha intaba wadanna waxaa lagu maalgashadaa inuu leeyahay sharci kala xadeynaya ama fududeynaya howlaha qofka maalgashanaya wadanka iyo dadka u shaqeynaya ee adeega maxaan dhahdaayay la gaarsiinaya ama kuwa adeega bixinaya intaba waxaan cadaynayaa inay dhammaan shuruucda dalku ay yihiin kuwa ku habboon in la maalgashado Somalilandna ay tahay booqad ku habboon in la maalgashado taas oo ay dingigaan ama ay ka buuxaan khayraadka dabiiciga ah ee uu dalka eeba ku manaystay hadday tahay dhanka kalluunka dhanka macdanaha kala duwan dhanka shidaalka maxaan dhahdaayay dhanka milixda iyo waxyaabaha la midka ah ama xoolaha noolba sidaa aawadeed waxaan qabaa inay tahay waqtigii ugu mudnayd iyo meeshii ugu mudnayd ee la maalgashan lahaa intaba ka sameeyo iyada oo laga duulayo in loo fududeeyo howlaha dadka ajaanibta ah ee wadanka u soo shaqo tagaya waxaa la sameeyay one stop shop oo ay ka helayaan dhammaan waxyaabaha shuruucda ah ee ay u baahan yihiin hadday tahay dhanka fiisaha hadday tahay lacag qabashada hadday tahay work permitka dhammaantood waxaa lagu diyaariyay hal boos taas waxay muujinaysaa sida Somaliland ay ugu diyaar ka tahay inay dadyooga dunida ku nool wax la qaybsato ama ay u fududeyso inay wadankooda iman karaan oo maalgashan karaan wasaarad ahaan waxaanu gacanta ku haynaa ama aanu saaxiib dhow la nahay shaqaalaha private sector-ka ah iyo runtii kuwa dowladda oo aanu qayb ka nahayo steering committee-ga aan madax ka ahay shaqaalaha dowladda kuwaasoo dhammaan shuruucdoodu ay dhamaystiran yihiin ay caddahay xuquuqda uu leeyahay qofka muwaadinka ah iyo ka uu leeyahay ka ajaanibka ah oo mid shaqada loo siman yahay ah wax isku mida la wada leeyahay agreementkooda uu si sharciya qof walba loo ogol yahay inuu agreement cad oo qeexaya waxa uu ku shaqeynayo halka uu ka shaqeynayo iyo cidda uu la shaqeynayo intaba ay ku caddahay sidoo kale xafiiska xalinta khilaafaadka shaqaalaha iyo loo shaqeeyaha oo wasaaradda ku yaala ayaa u heegana waqti walba inay si dhow u dhammaystiraan khilaafaadka ka dhex dhasha shaqada iyo loo shaqeeyaha iyo shaqaalaha intaba runtii kuwaasoo aan odhan karo waxaad ka helaysaan shuruuc idin raaligelisa oo uu qarankani leeyahay. Somaliland waa goob loo diyaariyey inay dadkeedu noqdaan dad shaqayn kara ama u tababaran inay shaqaystaan. Waa goob ay ka qalin jabiyaan sanadkii ilaahay soo gudaba in ku dhow 10,000 oo arday oo ka baxa jaamacadaha dalka. Somaliland waa wadan sida uu u korayo iyo runtii itiraaf la'aanta uu dunida ku haysta aanay ahayn laba shay oo isu dhow ama isqaadi kara. Waxay ka horeysaa wadamo badan oo dunida caanka ah oo laga yaqaano aqoon ahaan, amni ahaan, horumar ahaan. Waana wadan isku tashada oo aan cidna sacabada u dhiganin. Somaliland waxaa lagu dhaqaa oo ammaankeeda iyo shuruucdeedaba lagu dhammaystiraa dhammaan golayaasha adduunka ka jira oo dhamina ay kaga jiraan. Waa cashuurta ka soo baxda neefkooda iyo iyaga dhexdooda wixii ay ku kala cashuurtaan ganacsatadooda. Taasi waxay ku tusaysaa siday u yihiin wadan u dhiga nugul dowladnimada ama u bisil siyaasadda dunida ama ay ka hirgashay dowladnimo taani. Taas ayaa ku caddayn karta. Waxaan leeyahay dad kasta oo u baahan inay wadan maalgashataa waxaan odhan lahaa halka ku habboon aad maalgashan kartaa waa jamhuuriyadda Somaliland oo ah mid eeba ku manaystay khayraadka kala duwan ee dunida loo tartamo, isla markaana qofku meel kastaba uu tegi karo isagoo aan iskaaf fara badan oo ku kacaya qarashyo fara badan oo riski iyo khasaare ku keeni kara maalgashigiisa aan u baahnayn, ee isagoo keligiiya uu gaari karo goob kasta oo loogu tilmaamo inay macdantu taalo si uu uga soo qaato sambalka uu u baahan yahay ama uu testi uga galo. aad baad mahadsantiin dhammaantiin. waxaan idinkaga tegayaa waa dalka la maalgashan kara ee shuruucdiisa iyo dowladnimadiisa iyo khayraadkiisaba ay dunida ka iibsami karaan ama u cuntami karaan waa jamhuuriyadda barakaysan ee Somaliland. mar labaad waxaan idin leeyahay waad mahadsantihiin. waxaan leeyahay soo dhow.
Thank you very much, Minister. I know what you've said is really important and reassuring for our audience to have heard today. I'm now going to hand over to our final speaker of this panel, Minister Saad, who has the extensive portfolio of covering the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Tourism. This is particularly important as Somaliland has recently been ranked as one of the world's must-see places by the Lonely Planet. We very much look forward to hearing from you, Minister.
Thank you very much. I'm the Minister of Trade and Industry and Tourism of Somaliland. Somaliland is virgin. It has got a lot of potentials to invest and to trade with. In the coming near future, Berbera Corridor will be completed, as well as the special free zone and expansion of Berbera Port. Somaliland actually is a gateway for doing business with big population, mainly landlocked Ethiopia. And when the free zone is almost ready, big business will be licensed and in doing trade and investment within the country. Somaliland has got a lot of treasuries like fishery, livestock, and agricultural land. Foreign direct investment in these fields will create export of our resources, mainly fish. We do expect and we are looking forward to investment in fishery, caning, and this can be a huge market for exporting canned and or fresh fish. If the proper investment comes in to different countries, the area of sea. Our sea is around 850 kilometers free of fish, which, if tabbing, can be good for the investment of Somaliland and investors. And Somaliland can have a win-win situation where we can benefit both. There are a lot of other potentials like minerals and many other fields which are not yet tapping. For this reason, I would recommend foreign investment will benefit both investors and Somaliland to change the situation of both our society development and for investors to gain a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. That brings us to the end of what's been a really interesting session. I know we're short on time, so I'd just like to thank all of the panellists for your brilliant contributions. I'll be seeing you again later for the Q&A session, so thank you very much again, and Atom, over to you to carry on.
Now, these events wouldn't be possible without the support of some of the great businesses in each of the countries that we represent supporting these events for us. And one of the biggest investors in the Middle East into the Horn of Africa and into Africa in general, into Sub-Saharan Africa and Northern Africa, is DP World. And DP World are responsible for one of the most extraordinary developments in Somaliland and are also Somaliland's biggest foreign direct investor. Please, over to DP World.
Good morning, Honourable Ministers, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for the opportunity of letting us share what we've been doing to develop the port of Berbera. With respect to Berbera Port, we have a 30-year concession to manage, operate and develop the port with an automatic 10-year extension. We are investing up to $442 million in multiple phases to create the capacity to handle over 1 million TEUs in the container terminal, as well as developing a logistics platform and a special economic zone in the region. The Berbera Wajali corridor, which has the potential to serve as an important corridor for trade and transit in the Horn of Africa, is also currently being developed with the support of the UAE and Ethiopian governments, the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, and the Abu Dhabi Fund for Development. Our development plan and phasing for the port. This slide shows the master plan for the port with the location of the various infrastructure and facilities, as well as the location of the logistics platform. This is an aerial photograph showing the current progress we've made, including the completion of a 400-metre quay and yard extension. This shows around 70% of the completed scope of the project. The complete modernisation of the port is taking place in multiple phases and will include a deeper draft able to handle the world's largest ships, a modern stackyard and new equipment to be added in Phase 1, additional warehousing and new port administration buildings, a future liquid bulk terminal, special economic zone in advanced planning stage to drive industrial growth, and capacity to increase beyond 1 million TEUs. The Berbera Special Economic Zone is expected to be operational in 2022, while the improvement of the Berbera Wajali Road is expected to be completed in 2021. This table shows the present capacity of the port and the increased capacity post Phase 1 and Phase 2 expansion. In terms of container capacity, the present 150,000 TEUs will increase to 500,000 TEUs after Phase 1 and double to 1 million TEUs after completion of Phase 2, while general cargo, bulk and break bulk will increase from 1.5 million metric tons to 2 million metric tons after Phase 1. After Phase 2, it will double to 4 million metric tons. In terms of livestock, this will increase from the current 3 million heads to 4 million heads after Phase 1. To meet the planned capacity, we'll add 3 ship-to-shore cranes, and an additional 3 in Phase 2. The quay length will also be extended from the current 650 metres to 1,450 metres after Phase 2, while the draft will be extended from the current 8 to 11.5 metres to between 8 to 17 metres after Phase 2. Reefer plugs will be increased from 36 currently to 156 and 312 respectively. Development of the Berbera Logistics Platform. The logistics platform will offer a range of supply chain solutions and will comprise of bonded warehousing, an empty storage yard, a container freight station, reefer support, container repair facilities, truck parking, and amenities for port users. The Berbera Special Economic Zone. The Berbera Special Economic Zone, located close to the port, is modelled on Dubai's Jebel Ali Free Zone and aims to attract investment, encourage trade, create new jobs, and position Berbera as a gateway port for the region. DP World will also sign an agreement with Berbera Port and the Free Zone Authority to establish and operate a one-stop shop. The Berbera Special Economic Zone is planned to start in 2022 and will have a range of product offerings and target businesses in warehousing, logistics, trading, processing of goods, manufacturing, or any other related businesses and services that are aligned with the objectives of the Berbera Special Economic Zone. The zone will offer service plots, offices and business centres, pre-built warehouses, and facilities built to suit specific business requirements, as well as showrooms. The Berbera to Addis Ababa corridor. The Berbera Wajali Road will be completed by Q4 in 2021 and will provide a quick and efficient corridor between Berbera Port and neighbouring Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. The construction of the road has now reached the connecting areas of the Marudi and Sahel regions, parts of which are already complete but not officially opened. The first 20 kilometres between Hargeisa and the Arbakadal village of the Berbera Corridor project has been completed with the establishment of a modern road. GIZ, who is assisting local road building authorities, has completed the construction of 50 kilometres of the 83 kilometres of the Berbera Corridor road that connects Hargeisa to Wajale. The 50 kilometres that has been constructed is between Hargeisa and Gebele. Our sustainability initiatives in Somaliland. DP World Berbera plays a significant role in the port community and have embarked on multiple sustainability projects. These include training of thousands of employees, health and safety standards which have improved dramatically, community projects to modernise hospitals and improve healthcare access, solar power panels on containers installed at local schools, and new wells and water connections have secured fresh water supplies in the drought-prone region. The areas we focus on and prioritise as a business at Berbera are the well-being and security of our employees, talent development, and community investment. We want to leave a lasting legacy within our communities by ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all, as well as focusing on gender equality. Our impact through trade on the local economy is significant in terms of GDP contribution. For example, we've seen a 77% growth in direct GDP contribution and 241% growth in purchases from local suppliers. Our operational efficiency has also contributed to trade volumes and enables trade in Berber and the Horn of Africa region. Thank you and good luck during the rest of today's programme, and our very best wishes for the success of UK Somaliland trade and investment activities.
Thank you. That was excellent. Now, it's my absolute delight and my absolute pleasure to have worked with Guul Group since our 2014 event, and Guul Group very kindly looked after us on our visit to Somaliland in 2014 as well. Guuled has been a long-term friend of DMA and of me personally, so I thank you, Guuled, for all of the time that you've shown us and for all of the guidance that you've given us in the Somaliland space. Guul is going to speak about the investment platform that Guul Group has been developing, and Guul is also going to speak about some of the key investor potentials within Somaliland. Over to you, Guul. Thank you very much.
Since 2012, Guul Group has developed an unparalleled network of businesses, expertise, local know-how and experience, and we're on our way to realizing our target of $100 million of new overseas impact investment in key sectors. Our name denotes success in the Somali language, and we achieve that through taking our time in forging the right relationships with the right partners. Guul is the only partner of choice for the bold, budding and bullish frontier investor, and is an ideal launchpad for the region. And there are dozens of foreign direct investors that will attest to that. We're cost-effective, flexible, and have an unrivaled market intelligence, early intelligence and networking web. Moreover, we can offer turnkey solutions, such as moving into fully furnished offices immediately with pre-vetted multilingual staff. Our business is guided by strong values of credibility, integrity, and transparency. Purposefully pursuing emerging markets with an emphasis on growth, we rely on our specialist consultants focusing on areas affecting trade and investment, such as policy, taxation, and risk mitigation. If you want to break boundaries, working with Guul is a great start. Ask for a consultation with one of our experts and bespoke packages today. Guul Group, Trade and Investment Facilitation.
Honourable Ministers, Ambassadors, Lords and other distinguished guests, greetings and good morning. It's a great pleasure to have been given this platform, and among the many, thanks to so many parties for having made this happen. I'm particularly grateful to the Minister of Investment, Minister Mohammed Ahmed Awad, for his vision in bringing this event together. My brief talk today is about the investment landscape in Somaliland, our company, Guul Group, and the new investment platform that we've been developing to provide ancillary services to existing investors and provide early market intelligence on emerging investment opportunities in country. Particularly today and during these unprecedented times, my focus is on the current and the immediate post-COVID landscape in the country. But first things first, Guul Group. Now here's their headline figure. Guul aims to facilitate a near-term $100 million worth of foreign direct investment in anchor investments into key and priority sectors, namely agriculture, fisheries, minerals, and energy. To date, our investor network is from the UK, mainland Europe, the States, and the Middle East, and we're currently facilitating 2 major projects, one of which is at the due diligence stages, having just completed the feasibility studies. We work with individual investors, governments, corporations, foundations, and communities to generate profit and create lasting, sustainable social benefits. Our new platform, Guul Growth, which is a matchmaking platform for investment opportunities and investors. Guul helps businesses unlock their maximum potential by providing strategic investment readiness advice, access to new markets, an introduction of relevant investors that have capital, contacts, knowledge, and technology transfer. We help investors and entrepreneurs build lasting and profitable relationships. Guul sources, screens, and appraises new investment opportunities. We help to grow, to gain, and to Guul. The difference in the good and the extraordinary is the small details, assisting you establish strong evidence with which to make better and informed investment decisions. Rest assured that our work is recognized by both the UK and Somaliland governments. The facilitation of joint ventures and linkages between small and larger businesses, co-investment by an international investor and a local partner works the greatest. So we prepare local businesses to be investment ready. The provision of relevant and reliable information to investors, again, those informed decisions. We assist investors with applications to order relevant business permits and licenses. According to the World Bank, A good investment provides opportunities and incentives for firms to invest productively, create jobs and expand. We assist in selecting location, suitable premises, and of course, the support and aftercare services. Something that you can't capture about Somaliland without actually visiting is the energy. The same energy that you could witness in Nigeria 15 years ago, Kenya 10 years ago, and Cote d'Ivoire 5 years ago. Although much, much smaller in scale, the opportunities and the energy, as well as the entrepreneurial spirit, are just as you would witness there. Some have even compared Somaliland to the UAE 30 years ago. However, one big difference, all the above markets already had decided on the broad frame of engagement between public and private sectors, such as PPP frameworks, business platforms feeding directly into government, etc. Whereas here in Somaliland, we're just at the start of the process, and that gives existing and entry-level businesses real and meaningful input in how that dynamics play out, an incredible opportunity to be at the coalface on one of the world's most exciting emerging economies. To assist that first step, we bring individuals and companies to country, we invest into unorganized trade missions, we organize large-scale and intimate events to cultivate networks, we organize vertical sector roundtables, we organize site visits to government, regulators, and industry. We put our shoulder to the wheel to make that first step easier. We join the dots for you, and we make that leap into the most fascinating of frontier markets that much enticing. As you've just heard from the speakers just before me, Somaliland is untapped, and those that come in the earliest will be reaping the rewards and the highest return on investment. I very much welcome Her Majesty's government to invest further into Somaliland. I'd like to invite UK companies to take that dive and invest into Somaliland. I'm encouraging the likes of the World Bank, IFC, to invest into Somaliland. Ladies and gents, Somaliland is ripe, the time is right, and the time is now. Trade and invest through Guul Group. Thank you. I'd like to now hand you over to Lauren McVett to chair the last session of this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Gulad, and good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to welcome you all to this panel discussion. My name is Lauren McEvitt, and I'm a member of DMA's advisory board. I'm a government affairs and communications professional, specialising in trade and economic development in Africa, with a particular focus on the Horn of Africa and EAC regions. On a very personal level, Somaliland has always been incredibly important to me. I'm a former special advisor to the UK government's Wales office, and the historical, cultural, and potential economic connections between Somaliland and Wales, and of course the wider United Kingdom, are something I am keen to help to foster and promote. I'm also proud to be working with DMA, who have pivoted so well to delivering their incredibly important investment conferences in the new virtual era, and this event is a prime example of this. Finally, before we begin, I'd like to thank Guul Group and the UK government for their positive contributions to this conversation. I very much hope this will lead to further such engagements as we move ahead. This panel discussion is focused on sustainable investment, and I think you'll all be impressed from the outset at how important sustainability is to every facet of the investment plans and developments being created and delivered by all the participants in today's conference. This being the year that the UK leads COP26 is clearly something that has filtered into all levels of investment work and support throughout the UK government's network internationally, and it's wonderful to see the government of Somaliland being such active and positive partners in sustainability, proving that investment without thought to the wider ecosystems of environmental and cultural requirements is not an option in Somaliland. This, coupled with a renowned and robust legal framework for trade, makes Somaliland an attractive country for investment. And with that, I'd like to introduce the Honourable Mohammed Ahmed Mahamoud Awad, the Minister of Investment Promotion in the Government of Somaliland, to speak more on this matter.
We have a presentation about the investment opportunity in Somaliland. So let me explain briefly in the vision. Our vision is the mission for the Ministry of Investments proactively seek, attract, facilitate, and promote productive foreign and domestic investment in line with the Somaliland investment and development and national development plans. So our objective is to promote business in all areas that benefit Somaliland's development, to explore and evaluate new investment opportunity, to seek land space and capital for investment, to facilitate mutually beneficial coordination between investors, to prioritize Somaliland and its growth and development, to promote investment services products. What services the Ministry offers to the investors? The first service is information and statistics services related to all sectors that need to be invested. So why are you going to invest to Somaliland? First of all, investors constitutive factor. The first factor is security and transparency. As you know, Somaliland is stable. Somalia has witnessed a great deal of progress over the last 30 years. Self-governance, peace and stability has been restored through the efforts of the peoples of Somalia. So the other factor, the second factor that Somalia deserves to invest is a legal framework. As a Somaliland, we have developed a very competitive, very attractive legal framework like the investment policy. We have taken that. And the third factor is resource. As we know, Somalia is rich in mineral resource, deposit of many kinds of gemstone like emerald, sapphire, ruby, name it, and you can find it. And also the other minerals like iron ore, titanium, aluminium, tungsten, gold, silver, platinum, and all that is available. Like also gypsum, what I can name it else, iron ore, as I mentioned before. And also the fourth factor you can invest for Somalia is strategic location. Somalia is a strategic position in the center of the Horn of Africa, along the Gulf of Aden, near the entrance to the Bab el-Mandeb and the route to Red Sea and Suez Canal, a major sea line through with the 1/3 of the world's shipping passes. What I can mention right now also is the top investment opportunity. It's like mineral resources, as I explained before, and also there's an oil and gas and minister for minerals and energy will explain it deeply. Also, there's a lot of opportunity in the sector of energy and renewable energy, agriculture and livestock, marine resource, manufacturing industry, tourism and hospitality, education and technical institutions, banking and finance. All that sectors is needed to be invested. So we are going to invite all the UK companies to come and explore with us all that success.
Thank you, Minister, for your time this morning and for your most interesting speech. I'm now delighted to welcome Dr. Edna Ismail, founder and chief executive of the Edna Hospital, and a former foreign minister in the government of Somaliland.
Good morning. I send you greetings from Hargeisa, Somaliland, and I wish to add my support for the Somaliland Trade and Investment conference that is about to take place in Somaliland. I would like to say how important it is that Somaliland receives the attention that it deserves. As we all know, Somaliland has been stable for 30 years. As we all know, Somaliland has attracted many investors from around the world. As we all know, this is a country that exercises a fair and open trade with every nation in the world, as long as it's fair, honest, legitimate, and beneficial to all partners. I'm sure we all know that Somaliland also has its trade law that gives assurance to any foreign investors that their investments will be legal, will be respected and that they will have the right to withdraw their income, their benefit, and their investment when they so wish to do that. Somaliland is a country of opportunity in agriculture, in veterinary health. Our export depends on the export of livestock. Somaliland is a land of opportunity. Our sea, our coast, 850 kilometers of coastline is there for fishing industry. We have our mineral resources that need to be exploited. We have potential for several industries. So, as Edna Aden Ismail, as a former foreign minister of Somaliland many years ago, I wish to encourage the world and invite the world, come and see Somaliland, see what we have, see what we're doing right. There may be things we're not doing quite right. Help us to do them better. But together, we can move forward. Together, we can benefit from fair trade, fair development, fair investment. So, welcome to Somaliland.
Thank you, Dr. Ismail, for your passionate contribution in support of Somaliland's trade and investment potential. We now move on to the Honourable Jama Mohammed Egal, the Minister for Mining and Energy in the Government of Somaliland.
idinla socodsiinaya in haddaan nahay wasaaradda tamarta iyo macdanta. Tamartu way isku jirtaa, waa petroleumkii iyo powerkii iyo macdanta waa gaara. Intaasaan u qaabilsan nahay waddanka. Waxaa kaloo jira xagga dabdhalinta iyo dhalinta leyrka. Waxaa laga dhaliya waxaa Somaliland tahay waddanka qura ee leyrkeedu ku tiirsan yahay in laga dhaliyo diesel, naafto fudud oo kuwa baabuurta lagu shidaaca baa laga dhaliyaa. Way fudud tahay, dhaqsay gubanaysaa, waana qaali. Waddan ku tiirsan dabkiisu ku tiirsan yahay naaftadaasi ma jirto ama dieselkaas fudud. Marka waxay u baahan tahay iminku bay bilaabeen shirkaduhu iyo dowladda iyo hay'ado kale iskaashanaya solar waxoogaaya in la bilaabo si qiimaha waddanku u jabo. imika qiimuhu wuxuu barayaa $70 average marka la isku celceliyo oo senti baa halkii kilowatt hour lagu iibiyaa. Wuxuu u baahan yahay generation xoog leh in la keeno oo la maalgeliyo iyo in networkii dabadeedna isu gudbintiina iyadana dib looga shaqeeyo. Fursadahaasi fursado bannaan weeye oo aanu ku soo dhaweynayna cid kasta oo doonaysa ama daraynaysa. Horumar ka horreeyaana ma jiro iyo development ka horeeya leyr, waayo warshad iyo caafimaad hagaagsan iyo waxbarasho fiican iyo nolol fiican midna ma jiri karo leyr la-aan. Iron orka iyo gemstone-kana waa hodan waddanka ku yahay. baaritaano waxoogaa waanu ka samaynay. waxaase furan in weliba cid aan kusoo dhaweynaa ciddii baaritaan xoog leh iyaduna ka samaynaysa. dabadeedna waanu hubnaayo uu ku jiraa waddanka macaadin fara badan way ku jirtaa. ciddii kasta ee danaynaysa ee fursaddaa ka faa'iidaysanaysa ee waddan aan la rajaynayna inuu yahay mid soo jiita maalgashiga. waxaanu rajaynaynaa waddankaa aan la taaban yahay heerkii weynaa shirkadaha waaweyne koritaanka way samaynayeen weli maanaan gaadhin. shaqadaasaa ka socota, waa soo dhaweynaynaa aada iyo aadna waa umahadsanta.
Thank you, Minister. We now welcome Angus Miller, the Prosperity Fund Lead for the Horn of Africa from the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office of the United Kingdom Government, to talk about the UK Government's work in infrastructure investment in Somaliland and the Berbera Corridor.
Thank you very much. My name is Angus Miller and I lead the UK's Horn of Africa project focusing on upgrading the Berbera Corridor. Let me just follow on from Damon's intervention and dive a bit deeper into some of the UK's economic development investments in Somaliland over the last 5 years. There are two that I've been engaged with in detail. The first, which is pretty well known brand now, is the Somaliland Development Fund. This was mainly infrastructure focused, and what it did, which was different from previous programs, was it gave the government the authority to decide the sectors and projects that we were going to implement under this multi-donor fund. It focused mainly on infrastructure, on upgrading roads, urban water supply, and also worked in the livestock sector. We learned a lot from it. It's now into its second phase. There's another program which is called ESRES, which focused on renewable energy. And this was fundamentally about the proof of concept. It entered the energy market, which was purely diesel generator led, and it proved the concept in 5 mini-grids across Somaliland. It's now into its second phase, and one of the key results that we should be seeing in the coming months is 3 megawatts of solar energy supply in Berbera. These core investments have really been about upgrading the core infrastructure in Somaliland. It's been about understanding markets, understanding value chains, and really about promoting further investments, creating jobs in Somaliland and the Horn of Africa region. What this led us to was really, certainly in the road sector, was an interest in the Berbera Corridor, which is my second point. The Berbera Corridor has an interesting history. There have been some attempts that some of you will know to upgrade the corridor over the last couple of decades. They didn't quite make it for various reasons. But the Berbera Corridor is crucial today and has been for some years now because of the fast-growing Ethiopian market. Ethiopia, its imports and exports are pretty much 95% using Djibouti. Ethiopia needs other corridors, including Berbera, which can cater for the rise of imports and exports that everybody expects over the coming sort of decades. But I think for Berbera, it needs to be competitive, and that's what we've really been focusing on. We've used Trademark East Africa to undertake an infrastructure diagnostic in 2018, and that really helped us to understand why previous investments hadn't delivered, where the major bottlenecks were, and where the British government potentially could unlock the corridor's potential, drive down costs and time for transit goods and services using the Berbera Corridor. At the same time as we were doing this, of course, everyone was aware of the massive investments coming from Dubai Ports World that won the concession to run the Berbera Port in 2017-2018, and also the UAE government investment in roads, really focusing at the moment, we know, the Abu Dhabi Fund for Development on the road from Berbera to Hargeisa. These investments are huge. These are the largest investments that Somaliland has ever witnessed in its history, and they're game-changing. For example, we know that the 400-metre quay extension in Berbera will be commissioned early next year. Subsequent phases, we understand, will include a special economic zone in Berbera and further investments in the port. Berbera Airport also will be reopening, we understand, next year. It has huge potential for cargo, and it needs cold chain investment. These, again, if you put it all together collectively, could be game-changing for Berbera and the region. But the UK investment has really been focusing on looking at the Berbera Corridor and getting it to a basic level of efficiency, driving down costs and the time taken for cargo to travel really the 240 kilometres from the border of Togbojale down to Berbera. We, as a result of our infrastructure diagnostic, are implementing a Horn of Africa project, which I'm leading. It has 3 components. The first is hard infrastructure, as I'm sure you'd imagine, and we're focusing on the Hargeisa bypass, creating a new bypass, 22.5 kilometres around Hargeisa. This is just starting construction and likely to be completed in early 2022. As the UK government, we're very keen to ensure that this has the critical safeguards, such as climate resilience. We've climate-proofed the design of the bypass, and we're also very conscious that the bypass runs very close to Nasab Lod, and so heritage is also something we take as a safeguard extremely seriously. We're also looking at soft infrastructure. Really get an agreement between Somaliland and Ethiopia to manage the corridor, things like customs, logistics arrangements, and of course the large humanitarian cargoes that the World Food Programme is bringing up to its depot in Jijiga. And the third part of the project is really about people. It's about inclusion. It's about people benefiting from the Berbera Corridor. It's about new job opportunities for Somalis across the region, people to benefit from new jobs from the corridor. And the latest results for this project, just so people are aware, will be posted online. We've just done an annual review, which is mandatory for us, and that will be published online shortly. If you want further information, please contact me. My final point really is around Berbera and the Horn of Africa being open for business. The investments that I've been talking about are the largest Somaliland has ever witnessed in its history. They're just shy of about $1 billion if you put them all up together. And collectively, these are the vital arteries for economic growth. Ports, airports, power, water, roads. Everything that I know that you as investors have been urging the government and donors to invest in is being done as we speak. Alongside the Berbera Corridor, I think it's really important that we look at the wider Horn of Africa that I know that Damon talked about in his intervention. We know that the World Bank, the African Bank and the European Union are designing substantial infrastructure investments across the region. It's known as the Horn of Africa Initiative. It's under design at the moment, and it's mainly large infrastructure investments, as I say. But the critical part of that, and where there are a role for many of us, but other donors and governments, is the soft infrastructure. We've got to make sure that these hard infrastructure investments work. We need to ensure that the customs arrangements are in place. And I think it's important that we use lessons from the East African community, which has worked on trade and transit reforms over the last decade. There are lots of lessons that we can use for the Horn from the EAC. The final point really is about the UK and Somaliland. We have a common history. We know that as we designed this programme, we engaged with the UK Somaliland diaspora in both London and Cardiff in 2018 and 2019, and they are thirsty for investment opportunities. They want to see these investments in the large infrastructure that are taking place. And so I suppose this virtual investment conference today is an ideal way for businesses to make connections, to expose new sectors and markets, and for everyone to thrive off this new and emerging market that's developing in Somaliland, neighbouring Ethiopia and the Horn of Africa region. So thank you very much to DMA and the Guul Group for organising this event. We hope as HMG to follow this up early next year with a similar opportunity, and I wish this investment conference all the very best of luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Angus, for your report on the UK's wide-ranging investment work in Somaliland. Finally, I'm delighted to welcome Michelle Botsong from the IFC and World Bank to say a few words about the international view of Somaliland as a location for sustainable investment.
Honourable Ministers, distinguished audience, thanks for having us today. The IFC is the sister organization of the World Bank. While the World Bank is focusing on working with governance, the IFC is focusing on developing the private sector. We invest in private companies, and last fiscal year we have invested approximately $19 billion actually, including $1.6 billion across what we call fragile and conflict situations in Africa, a category that Somaliland and Somalia belong to. But besides doing investments, we have also a technical assistance arm, so we provide advice at two levels. On the market level, enabling the business environment and putting in place the building blocks for a much stronger private sector, and direct support to companies, support to their operations, support in terms of financial management, capacity building, but also helping them to meet our environmental, social and governance standards. So that's very much what we do. In Somaliland so far, the focus of IFC and of most development finance institutions has been on the enabling environment element. So really market-wide interventions with financial institutions, capacity building of SMEs. What we would like to do now, that I think the next step for us now is really to focus on enabling also investment in private companies. And for that, I think Somaliland looks extremely promising. I think when one goes to Hargeisa, one cannot help but being impressed by the level of entrepreneurship that is really apparent, that you can see, that you can feel. The existence of quite large business groups who are operating not only in Somaliland but also in neighboring countries, a lot of expertise. So I think that's very promising, and from my standpoint as FCS manager within IFC, I must say that that's much more encouraging and much more impressive than what we used to see in most of the fragile and conflict situations and countries that are coming out of conflict. So that's extremely promising and encouraging, and that's a good substance on which we can build for the future. There are nevertheless still some challenges. We know that we are living quite challenging times with COVID, and COVID-19 has been impacting Somaliland quite severely in terms of remittances on the one side, but also trade opportunities. But there are also broader challenges that we need to address together. For a responsible investor like IFC, there are really, before looking at some companies, there are really a couple of key elements that need to be secured. What we focus on first, and as you would expect, is the profitability of the transaction, the profitability of the deal, of the project. But that's quite obvious. It needs to be commercially sustainable and profitable for all parties. So that's one element. But in addition to that, we also pay a lot of attention of the companies and the sponsors we are working with. I think the pristine reputation is a key element. We need to understand who we are working with, who is owning the company, who is managing the company. In addition to that element, there's also a commitment that we expect from our partners to really try to meet the environmental, social, and governance standards that we are implementing, and that commitment is a very important one. We tend to support and help our client companies to meet those standards through the advisory work that I described earlier on. And then I think the last element is really the regulatory framework that should also offer some protection to investors like IFC and other DFIs, and protect those investors, and making sure that whatever regulation is in place can properly be enforced. Voilà, so those are the key elements. What I'm really calling for is really a dialogue between Somaliland companies and the IFC, so that we get to know each other better. I think it's like, as in my native country, one would say it's like dancing tango. We need to be two parties to dance. So we need to get to know each other, and I'm really inviting you very candidly to reach out to us so that we get to know each other better, and that we put in place the building blocks for a much more vibrant private sector moving forward. Thank you very much, and good luck with the work.
Thank you all for your insights and your most interesting comments. I now hand over to Katie from DMA to run the Q&A, and I'd like to thank you all for attending and contributing to today's event, and I really hope to see you back here again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. My name is Katie and I'm an associate here at DMA. Thank you to all of our speakers and supporters this morning, and you too, the audience. I hope you've had an interesting event. I hope you've learned a lot more content, whether you're a newcomer to Somaliland or you've been established in the region or the market for a while. It's now time for the question and answer session. We've had many questions come through the course of this event, and of course those who were submitted by the audience ahead of this morning. In the interest of time, we won't be able to go through all of them now, but those that we don't have time to answer will of course be passed on to the appropriate person or body, and we're more than happy to facilitate any additional conversations and introductions too. We've also chosen not to attribute any of these questions, but they will be taken verbatim from what's been sent to us ahead of the event. I'm going to direct most of these to the Minister of Finance. Thank you, Minister, for joining us again after your presentation earlier. And I'm going to kick off with our first question, which is, what does the issue of Somaliland's sovereignty mean for investor confidence?
Well, the fact of the matter is, I think Somaliland fulfills all the conditions of a sovereign state. We have defined population, defined, boundaries from the colonial era. We are in line with the AU Charter, which says that all governments and all countries must respect the colonial boundaries in Somaliland. We have a government elected by the people. So we have we fulfill all the terms and conditions of a sovereign state. And now we deal with other countries as a sovereign state, and other countries deal with us as a sovereign state as well.
Thank you, Minister. I think it was really important that we got that question answered today, and it fits in very nicely with the tone of the event about stability and Somaliland's openness and the developments that are happening. On that note, I'd like to ask our next question. We've already heard a little bit about the Berbera Port, and we've heard from DP World, but Minister, please could you give us an update from your side about the development of the Berbera Port?
Yes, we're at a very advanced stage in the development of the port, and we expect and hope the port to be complete by March next year. That's in the coming 5 months. It may go into trial and testing for a month, but we hope by May, it will be open for business. The extension will be open for business. It's going very well.
Minister, it's brilliant to hear that the port is going to be up and running so soon, and I can't think of a better catalyst of growth for Somaliland and how to further trade and investment with other countries. A question that we've had from a UK-based firm is asking about what collateral or guarantees there are to protect foreign direct investment.
Well, the law protects, all property and people who come and invest in Somaliland. The government doesn't put up collateral, per se, but we have a rule of law in this country, and it's the rule that and the law that will protect investors.
Thank you, Minister. I think that's a really important point that's been raised there, and one that was mentioned by the Minister of Employment earlier about Somaliland's legal and governmental commitment and the strength of those institutions and those practices that have been put in place. Our next question is from a UK maritime-based organisation, and it gives a context of the fact that Somaliland is sat on an important coastline in the Gulf of Aden and in the entrance to the Red Sea. Somaliland has a geography and maritime advantage, which we've heard about today, that could be used to promote its economy. Has the concept of the blue economy been used to explore this, and are there any security concerns regarding its maritime development?
Right. As far as security is concerned, there are no security concerns. There hasn't been a single piracy incident in the Somaliland seas, not now, not in the past. Our seas are quite secure. I think with regard to the blue economy, we're fully aware that we have enormous maritime resources. We're only a population of 4 million. I think all of us can live off the sea, as a matter of fact. We reckon that, Yemeni boats, who fish illegally, in our seas, probably harvest more than $100 million of fish every year. So if we can develop, that marine potential, then I think it offers us, a great potential to lift us out of poverty, or to lift off out of poverty many people, particularly those in the coastal area. So we're really now trying to put the pieces together to make sure that we can take advantage or make use of that potential but idle resource at the present time. We have established a marine college in Berbera. We have graduated, I think, 4 or 5, not really quite sure, groups so far. We're going to have another graduation this coming month, in fact this month, next week. And the college offers three main areas, and that is fisheries and navigation and engineering as well. So we hope to be able to develop and produce young people, a young group, a young corps, who will be able to take advantage of that potential that we have. And at the present time, as far as using our strategic locations concerned, I think we're up to 30,000 ships passed with the Red Sea. We have now about maybe about 1 million tons of goods are coming through the port of Berbera. So I think we have a good potential to use our position as a connection, as a marine connection in terms of maritime transport, but also as a main resource in terms of providing food, and also the potential for export of fishing in our seas.
Thank you, Minister. You raised 2 really key points there about stability and sustainable development, which are, of course, the main 2 themes of today's event. Sadly, at this stage, you only have time for 2 more questions, so I'm going to ask these briefly. The first one being about the African Continental Free Trade Area and the general geopolitics of where Somaliland sees itself.
Well, Somaliland is a trading nation. If you add together the imports and exports, that accounts for about 90% of the GDP. It's quite an open economy. And, we believe in our trade. Our people are quite entrepreneurial. And we would like to be part of the not only Horn of African economy, but also part of the East African and Africa economy.
Thank you, Minister, for your comments on that. I think we've heard a lot today about the potential for Somaliland, but also the potential for Somaliland in the Horn of Africa, in the East of Africa, and the potential for that to be an economic hub in itself. So the next question, and the last question, is actually a topic on what was mentioned by Lord Sheikh in his opening remarks today. And it is, what is your government's position on Islamic finance and the need to pursue it?
Islamic finance is very important. Now we have 4 banks in Somaliland, private banks. They have Sheikh, Salama, Premier, and Amal as well. And they're all Islamic banks. Our constitution prohibits riba or interest. So the foundation of our financial system is the Sharia. Yes, it's very important. And I think at the present time we have only domestic banks. We need international banks, to connect us with the rest of the world. That will be very welcome. And I think there's the potential for anyone to invest in that area.
Thank you, Minister, for your enthusiasm there on Islamic finance. Islamic finance is one of these topics that has come up a few times today and is another great opportunity for trade and investment with Somaliland. Thank you very much, Minister, for being able to answer those questions, and it's a shame that we've come to the end of the session, but as I said at the start, we'll make sure we pass all of the questions that have been asked to the appropriate person. We'll also be making sure that all of the content from today is available online, both via the DMA website and via our YouTube channel, which has got the past virtual events we've been doing as well. Today is actually the 120th DMA event. All of this content is also online, so it's 119 past events in a vast library of economic indicators and other substantive material. We'll also be sending you invitations to our upcoming events, which are with some really diverse economies. In the near term, these are Sudan, Cote d'Ivoire, Uzbekistan, Jamaica, Liberia and Nepal. I'd also like to thank our speakers, distinguished guests, the Guul Group, the FCDO and of course our sponsors. These are DP World, Rio Architects and the Ambassador Hotel. One last thing before we go is I'd like to direct you to the Guul Investment Platform, which is a one-stop shop for anything trade and investment in Somaliland, and I really encourage you to go there. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, and I wish you and your families well. Thank you.